So can you tell us how did you start then your creative process? So you said that you use this for this, but I think about your company, about your organizations, about the Children of Andromeda. So if you can actually explain how did you went from this agency, corporate world and business world to your creative spaces and to create what you're doing right now, and tell us what is you doing right now for people that never heard.
Yeah, so Lost Children of Andromeda is a sci-fi fantasy series. I call it a multimedia series because it does have books, it does have visual imagery, and it also has music. And I'm working on basically publishing 10 stories in that universe as kind of an ode to my childhood self that wrote the stories when I was young. And I was working at a fashion company, and I realized that the path I was on was going toward like a marketing executive at in some industry. And I was like, is that really what I want to do with the rest of my life? And I actually got in a really bad fight with a friend of mine. I was on vacation and I got in a fight with a friend of mine because he said I didn't have the like the resilience. He said I didn't have the drive to create something of my own. He said, why do you always keep working for these other people when you know, if you wanted to do a fashion, why don't you start your own fashion company? And I was like, well, I don't want to have a fashion company. But then it got me thinking, well, then what would I do? And so as with anything, it started with research. First, it was researching about what is independent publishing? What does it mean? What's the possibility if one does independently publish? Like, how do you scale? How do you get, you know, sales and all that stuff? And at the time, this was 2014, I was reading about phenomenon like The Martian, where they sold 10,000 copies, publisher picked it up, they redistributed it, it got turned into a movie, and I was like, ah, I can do that. But you know, it's like a gem, you know, it's like a pearl. But I felt confident that if I could build the universe to a certain level, that someone would come in and, you know, support me to take it to the next level. And so once I figured that out, I figured out what platforms do I need to go to? What's the editing process like? You know, because I was doing a ton of reading, and the first book was terrible. It just failed completely. And it failed for a number of reasons. I didn't get the editing done that I needed. I didn't do very much marketing, and I didn't tell anyone I was writing a book. So I just like released it and then was like, hey, by the way, I wrote a book and here it is. And everyone was like, what? I thought you did this thing, you know, I thought you were influencer marketing. So I took the book down. I'm not even gonna tell you the name because people will go look for it. It's out of print, but you can get, some people have copies. You can get it on Amazon for like $75 or something, which is hilarious. And so then I spent the next 2 years working on another novel called Zosma. And that time I was like, okay, editing, you know, great visuals. I hired a new artist. You know, I built a website. I did a Kickstarter, and I was telling everybody, I was like, this is coming, get ready for it. And so that one was a lot more successful. And because I was so excited about it and proud of it. And that book was okay as a book. And I learned a lot from that venture. And then I spent the next 3 years throughout the pandemic working on 2050Z. And I did everything that I did with Zosma, but like twice as big. So bigger Kickstarter campaign, bigger visual, like the visuals were like same artist, but even more high quality. The soundtrack was even more high quality. And And behind the scenes, I'm working these other jobs, right? I'm consulting for entertainment clients and agencies. I'm writing pitch decks. You know, for that first book, Zosma, I was working full time at that artificial intelligence company. And slowly, the book business got bigger. The demand for bringing it to life got bigger, and the consulting work got smaller. And then the pandemic actually just zeroed out my consulting business, where I had no clients at all because of the uncertainty around March 2020. And it's interesting because I think you'll hear this from a lot of people who experienced the pandemic, that it's a reminder of like what you have that no one can take away from you. And you can take away my consulting business, you know, influencers, experiences, but you can't take away my writing, can't take away my story. And so I really went inward and just focused on that. I focused on building an audience around the story. I focused on selling the story, which I hadn't been doing. I focused on writing the story and even like more in a deeper way, which I hadn't really had the space or time to do before that. And what came out of it was something that has changed my life over the last year or so. I published actually last year in July around this time. So it's kind of like 1 year anniversary. But what that brought in terms of investment, partnerships, opportunities, was crazy. And so I knew I was doing something right. Like I knew I had figured out a formula that would work for scale, like a really powerful book series.